What's going on? Greetings, everybody. Peace and power and elevation be to all of you. This your girl Tiffany coming through here live in effect. So tonight I'm going to go live because I'm going to talk about my experience on the podcast. So I just got off an unbiased sports podcast, and I must say this. I must say this. Dude is wild as hell. I mean, dude was all over the place. Again, the name of the podcast was Unbiased Sports Podcast. So we had a dialogue about the FBA, and then it turned into all kind of weird stuff. There was a lot of things that baffled me, but this one right here baffled me the most, which is why I end up just not completing the podcast. This brother said that Florida did not have Jim Crow laws. And when I went through the list of things of the Jim Crow laws that took place in Florida, this man said that those things were soft. No. So how do you represent your own people, but then you dismiss something that has really played a major hindrance in their lives? Then he asked the question about why did Dr. Martin Luther King not go to Florida? It doesn't matter where Dr. Martin Luther King went. He spoke on the crisis and issues of Black people in America. See, what I'm getting out of this FBA shit, they set tripping. They set tripping, man. It's like you pick and choose what the struggle is. It's like you trying to compete with whose struggle is better than whose. Like this man said that the Jamaicans, they didn't deal with what we was dealing with here in this country. They didn't deal with racism. They didn't have to go through this, day, and other. They got their reparation, and their reparation is different from ours. I'm going to explain this to you guys. Slavery was an international business. It was not a United States of America business. It was not a Caribbean business. It was not a South America business. It was an international commodity. So those who were enslaved, they were affected by it. Even those in the continent of Africa, they were affected by slavery. Why? Because their loved ones were taken to the Atlantic. And I don't know, people trying to make this into a sport, a competition. This is not no competition. This is history. And we all been impacted by the history because we carry through our epigenetics. And as I mentioned before, we are all connected. We have a lot in common with the Caribbean people more than what we ever think and we ever know. We have a lot in common with the Central West African people. There is a connection there, the cultural connection. There is differences in how the cultures are practiced and the languages and whatnot, but there is a connection. There's a lot of similarities. And I want to say this: the title, Black people were not the founders of America. Black folks did not found America. Okay. Black folks did not come here and founded this country. They were brought here against their own will to build a country up for someone else to make profit. Black people did not found this country. Okay? It was to make profit for the Europeans because the Europeans wanted to build an empire and they want to gain capitalism. So, unless you can show me, but there's no historical information say that black people were founders of America. As America, as a matter of fact, America wasn't even founded. It was it was conquered by the Europeans because there were people who are already that excuse me, it was people that was already here. There was people who were already indigenous to this land. There was people who already inhabit this land that we call America. And those were the Indians. They were already here. So there could be no way black people founded a land which they were enslaved on. Y'all gotta stop this romanticizing and sensationalism. Stop with these lies that you telling folks. Stop trying to twist up the narrative when we got information out here to actually tell it like it is. Y'all need to stop lying to these people. Y'all need to stop lying to people. Stop making up bullshit. We got a book. I have a book, right? And this is the beginning. This is a starter package. I would call this a starter package. All right. Hold on. Because the problem is a lot of our folks are brainwashed. Okay. A lot of our people are brainwashed to believe in a bunch of madness. We try to make it more than what it is. I mean, it's a lot to our history. It's a whole lot that we don't know that we must unpack when it comes to our historical information. All right, so here's the book that I recommend you all, those who in the pseudo community. And I'm not trying to be funny at all. I'm being dead serious. This book right here is a beginner page, it's a beginner start. It's a good start for those who are trying to learn about history, right? Especially those who are into this pseudo ideology, pseudo history. You need to start here. It's called Black American History for Dummies. Black American History for Dummies. And it's written by a sister named Rhonda Racha Penrice. Okay? Rhonda Penrice. This book came out in 2021. So let's go through it. I saw it today. I said, you know what? I want to go ahead and share this book. And she written another one. Foolish Assumption. It says you suspect that Black American contribution to American history run deeper than you learn in required history classes, but don't know how to prove it. Okay. It says in writing and revising Black American History for Dummies, I had to make some assumption about you, the reader, on top of my main assumption that Black American history is important for everybody, not just Black Americans. Here are a few others. At one point, you tried to read about Black American history, but just couldn't find enough of what you needed to know in one spot, and don't like the idea of having to dust off your high school or college research skill or cultivate them. You pick them up bits and pieces of Black American history here and there, but want an accessible reference where you can go to find out more. You're naturally inquisitive and open to finding out more about Black Americans and their struggle and triumphs, as well as their contribution to the nation overall. Okay. Now I haven't done this in a while, but let's walk through it. Let's just walk through this book. All right. So it goes in, it talks about coming to America, right? That's dealing with the history. Now, chapter one, the soul of America. Go down to where it says life before slavery. What is Africa to me? Countine Cullen asks in his 1930 poem, Heritage. It is a question that should resonate with more than just Black Americans. European interaction with the African continent profoundly changed the world. Black, white, and otherwise, and nowhere else is that fact more evident than in the United States, with the exception of South Carolina. Africans were largely the racial minority in early America, partially because white colonists adamantly restricted their numbers. Even in small numbers, though, Africans had an enormous impact on American history. The truth is that America has a dual history rooted in both Europe and Africa. Despite what you see in many textbooks, Black American history didn't begin with slavery. Again, Black American history didn't begin with slavery like other Americans. Black Americans have a beginnings that predates the Americas. All right. So for those who say, well, Black people, our history began with slavery. No, it did not. It did not start with slavery. And here's the proof in the pudding. Watch this. Kidnapped Africans transported to the Americas through the slave trade generally hailed from Western and Central Africa, an area that includes present day Ghana, Nigeria, the Ivory Coast, okay, Mali, Senegal, Angola, and the Congo. Of Africa's many empires, Ghana, Mali, and Songhai are the most important to Black American history. Some unique features of these empires included religious tolerance, attempts at representative government, and somewhat egalitarian attitudes concerning the contribution of women. All right. Now it says, although Egypt attracted Europeans' attention centuries before the slave trade began, tales of Africa's enormous riches reignited, or excuse me, reigned European interests in the continent. Portugal, which beat other European countries to Africa, didn't go there to become enslavers, but rather to gain material wealth. And although the Portuguese captured Africans during those early trips, they weren't doomed to a lifetime of enslavement. Columbus' discovery, quote unquote, of the New World in Spain's claim on the land changed that. When Spain instituted slavery to capitalize on cash crop like sugar, Portugal served as the primary supplier of Africans kidnapped from their homes. Okay. Now, first Africans to arrive in Virginia to Point Comfort and later Jamestown in 1619 were brought in on slave ships. Now, actually, there was an early account of Africans that were brought to America around the 1500s into what we know today as South Carolina, okay, in the area which is now Georgetown, but it was Winyah Bay. So Winyah Bay is located in Georgetown area, South Carolina. So the Africans that were brought over here, they were from the Angola Congo area, right? They were brought over by the Spanish people. See, people didn't know that South Carolina or the Carolina period was a Spanish colony before it was ran by the British. Okay. So Carolina is a Spanish word, by the way. And let's look up what Carolina means. All right, hold on. Let me go ahead and let's look up what the word Carolina means. Oh, my bad. Okay, so um let me go back and repeat that because I had myself on mute. So, Carolina is a feminine name that means free man or freeholder in Spanish, right? Okay. So, it is derived from the Latin name Carolis, which is the Latin version of the name Charles. Okay. The name Carolina means free man or freeholder. All right. Okay. All right. So, now let's go back to the information from this book. Okay. So, now let's go down to where it says life before emancipation, right? Historians of the past argue that these people weren't enslaved. However, when John Punch ran away from Virginia to Maryland with two indentured servants who were white in 1640, only he received a punishment of lifetime enslavement when captured. Still, the evidence shows that Africans, by and large, never resigned themselves to being enslaved and kept trying for their freedom, either through running away, challenging their status in court, or trying to appeal to the moral conscience of colonists. Enslaved life was hard, yeah, with human beings reduced to nothing more than property. Laws ensured that those enslaved had no control over their lives. Right? Slaveholders had the legal right to dictate their every move and mistreat them with no recourse. Okay? And consequently, slaveholders separated families without a second thought, and rapes and unwanted pregnancy were far from unusual occurrence for enslaved girls and women. Still, free blacks and their enslaved brethren never abandoned their hope for freedom. Whether they ran away, rallied sympathetic white people towards emancipation, or helped carry others to freedom using the Underground Railroad, they did whatever they could to force the new nation to live up to its promise of freedom and equality. Less than a century into new nation existing, the inevitable happened with the onset of the Civil War. Okay, life before civil rights. Now, did y'all know that there was two civil rights acts? There was the Civil Rights Act of 1866, and then there was the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Okay? Hmm. Now let's go. Long before Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation and the ratification of 13th Amendment abolishing slavery, Black Americans firmly set their minds on attaining freedom. When Lincoln wavered about ending slavery during the Civil War, Black Americans like Frederick Douglass continued lobbying for freedom. Reconstruction, the period of recovery, particularly in the South following the Civil War, revealed that most white Americans had never seriously entertained the idea of Black American freedom. Even some white abolitionists who believed that Black people shouldn't be enslaved didn't necessarily believe that they should enjoy the same rights and freedoms as other white people. White Congressman, that is, Stevens, was the grand exception. He and other battled to right the wrongs of the past tied to slavery through the various action like proposing an amendment to the 1866 Freedmen's Bureau Bill for 40 acres lots for freemen, or supporting bills like the Civil Rights Act of 1866, declare all men born in the country free with the aid of newly inaugurated Black American congressmen. White Southerners, evidenced by their subsequent push for poll taxes, grandfather clauses, and new state constitution often excluded Black people, refused to change the status quo in the North largely sat back and watched. Okay. Now it goes down to talk about the Reconstruction era, right? So when the Reconstruction ended, Black Americans continued to fight for racial equality as white mobs, violence compromised their freedom, and Jim Crow ruled their lives, determining where they could live and eat and socialize. In the 20th century, Black American leaders like W.E.B. Du Bois and Ida B. Wells Barnett seized every opportunity to challenge white only claim. All right. So searching for better jobs and freedom from Jim Crow, Black Americans migrated north. Although the promised land wasn't all they had imagined, they didn't abandon each other. Battling mob violence in the north, the nation saw that Black Americans never accepted lynching or Jim Crow. There really wasn't a new Negro at work, but rather the old one in plain view. Marcus Garvey capitalized on that spirit when he launched his branch of Black nationalism and Pan Africanism. Okay. All right. Now here we go. We're gonna talk about the names. What what's in a name? Negro, the N word, and many others. African, Afro American, color, Negro, Black, and African American are just some of the names used to describe people who trace their roots to the African continent. The constantly evolving term largely reflect developments in Black American culture and its relationship to the dominant white culture. The changes also reveal Black Americans' ongoing quest for self identity and self determination. Surprisingly, Negro didn't always refer to Black people. At times, it included Asians and in the New World, Native American. In 19th century, runaway account announcements, the term Negro identified Black Americans. Progressive institutions such as the African Methodist Episcopal Church preferred the term African, but color was widely used. In 1829, David Walker addressed his famous appeal to the colored citizen of the world. The use of color by the National Association of the Advancement of Colored People indicates the term's positive value in the early 20th century. In the years between the two world wars, the NAACP actually spearheaded the use of Negroes with a capital N, and that usage persists into the 1960s. All right. So, as the civil rights movement gave way to the Black Power movement, Black replaced Negro. The 1980s ushered the use of African American, which supports such as Jesse Jackson insists in reflecting both African and American identity. However, some argue that it is it isn't specific enough because white African immigrants such as actress Charlize Theron, business mogul Elon Musk are technically African American, and they're really not African American. They're actually Europeans. But okay. Today, people often use African American and Black interchangeably. Enslaved people sometimes refer to themselves as niggers in front of white slaveholders to indicate their servility, and the term was widely used in European and early American history to refer to Black Americans, including usage in novels such as the Mark Twain's Adventure of Huckleberry Finn. Although widely used, nigger was rarely a positive term, a point underscore during the civil rights movement when newspaper and television frequently quoted hostile white Americans using the word freely. Some Black Americans, especially with the onset of rap music, made distinction between nigger and nigga. Some Black Americans viewed the latter more positively when used among Black Americans, although saying it aggressively can indicate hostility. Even though hip hop songs and comedy routines use the term liberally, it's generally unacceptable for non Black Americans to use it under any circumstances. The unwritten rule is that Black people can use the term and non-Black people can't. Of course, many Black Americans believe that absolutely no one should. All right, so just to give you an idea, Why it's important to go back and restudy history. And here it is, chapter 2. It goes in from empires to bondage, bringing Africans to Americas. I mean, you can find out so many historical information. Just read it for yourself right here. It talks about the Ghana Empire, Mali, the Sun guy. The origins of the transatlantic slave trade. Slavery on the African continent, right? So it's a lot of things that you guys can really go into. But this is the best start. This is the beginning start for all those pseudo school of thoughts, all these LBAs and ADOS. Y'all need to start from right here. Start at the beginning. Start at the beginning. But I'm just gonna say this out loud. The FBA, for some reason, y'all be set tripping. Y'all be set tripping. Y'all wanna, I don't know, y'all on some game banging shit or something. Y'all set tripping. What's you trying to make it a competition about the plantation and all of these things? Y'all set tripping. But get back to that brother from Unbiased Sports. Okay, he's the host. That's his channel. He's saying things like, you don't hear Afro this and Afro that. You don't hear African Jamaican. Of course, you're not gonna hear African Jamaican. That's or African Haitian. You're not gonna hear all that, but he claimed that they don't identify with their African heritage. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. They do identify with their African heritage. Now, there might be some that don't, but there are a majority of those that do. But what really just what really just broke me altogether, what made me just want to stop doing the interview with him was the fact that he sat there and disrespected those in Florida dealing with Jim Crow. You don't get to downplay that. You don't get to look down on what they have been through. You don't know what those people had to endure. Jim Crow was a very rough and severe time for black people. Many black people couldn't even find jobs. They couldn't get decent housing. They couldn't go somewhere decent. They couldn't even go to the park. They couldn't even go to a decent school to get an education. Y'all don't understand how that shit affects our people. And it still affects us to this day. We still carry on those epigenetics. But you got people that's going coming along looking for ways to make money off of individuals. This is not no lineage. This is a damn cult. And then half of y'all talking about you indigenous to this land. You're not a damn lineage. You're a damn cult. Y'all out here set tripping on folks, man. Y'all out here gang banging. Y'all out here gang banging, bro. Yeah. And I just had to ban somebody from the chat, bro. This guy's gonna sit up here and say, if somebody gonna write a book about my people, that they better be a black American. Well, what about the Europeans that write books on black people history? Y'all don't say anything to those individuals. That's what I'm talking about, set tripping. Tyreek got y'all on this gang banging mentality, and y'all motherfuckers don't even know because you're going along with it. Y'all don't have a problem when Europeans write history about us. Y'all don't have a problem, or y'all don't say shit when these Europeans write books or write articles and do the research on us. But you have a problem when it comes to somebody that's black that may come from another country or come from a Caribbean island that's writing books about black people history when it's all connected if we study it. This goes show you how simple-minded many of you guys are. You guys are simple-minded. You're not thinking outside the box. So with the host on the podcast, he's just very simple-minded. There's nothing, it's nothing else I could talk to him about. When he started asking me, well, can't you go into the history about Pan-Africanism? No, I'm done. You can have this. I'm done. I don't want to talk to you anymore. Because at this point, you done drove me crazy. You done drove me crazy. You done went all over the damn place. I can't even try to fall in line with you. So it's like no matter what type of information I show, you still got that mindset. But then you want me to identify with being FBA. Well, you're a foundation Black American. No, don't include me in that. Do not include me into that category. Do not put me as a part of that conversation. I don't want to be a part of that shit. I don't want to have nothing to do with that because y'all do not value history. Y'all don't respect the history of our ancestors. Y'all don't even value what our people went through. Y'all don't care about the history. Y'all just jumping on bandwagons because of a person that you worshiping. Y'all not even doing the research your damn selves. You're not even verifying the information. Y'all just jumping on the bandwagon because you like what this person is saying. So because you like what the person is saying, so now you dealing with the popularity contest. And I don't care who get mad. Black people did not found America. They were not the founders of America. They did not capitalize off America. It was white folks that capitalized off America. It was white people that conquered this land, not black people. Black people were brought here to work and labor for free. Black people didn't make profits. And to this day, if that was the case, then why don't we have generational wealth? Why don't we have generational wealth in our community? Why a lot of our people didn't get 40 acres and a mule? Again, why did a lot of our people not receive 40 acres in a mule? So who is reaping the benefits off this land? And then y'all want to get mad and talk about, well, the Caribbeans didn't play a part in the African American music. The black people did this. Let me tell y'all something. Let's cut to the chase about that. New York is a very diverse city. Okay, you got a lot of ethnic groups, and especially when it comes to black people, you got a very strong diversity of black folks in New York. A very strong diversity. Yeah, it was black people that played a part in America when it came down to the creation of hip hop, but it was also a lot of contribution taking place too. You had those like DJ Kool Herc, who is of a Caribbean background. Then you got those who came from the South, like Disco King Mario. Okay. You got Grandmaster Flash, African Bambaataa. So you're dealing with the inner city youth, right? That came together and decided to create their own identity as far as like a cultural identity that can relate to them, that can reflect on what they going through, how they're living, and their way of expressing themselves, right? So hip hop was another form of the Harlem Renaissance. Hip hop in the 70s was what Harlem Renaissance was in the 30s and the 40s. So hip hop was another Renaissance. It was a way for young black people and brown people to create their own identity. Okay? So whether you want to say they did not contribute or not, as far as like the Latinos or whatnot, a lot of them did. A lot of black people from the Caribbean contribute to hip hop. Okay? And a lot of black people in America contribute to it. Yes, it was created here in America. It was created in the inner city, but it was a lot of contribution taking place. Why? Because New York is very diversified. And when you look at the inner city communities in New York, it's a lot of what blacks and Latinos and other minority groups that's in those inner cities. But particularly in this case, it was blacks and Latinos. And you got very groups of black people living in the hood. And y'all don't want to give credit when we talk about black music. The black music origin goes back to the continent of Africa, Central West Africa. Call and response, drumming, dancing, all of that. You got to give credit to that origin. So yes, black people, we have made a lot of contribution. Yes, black people, we done so much. But y'all getting upset with the wrong people, but you don't take your anger out on the people that's profiting off of the creation of hip hop. And that is the Jewish people. The Jewish and the European people, they're the ones that's making the lucrative income off the hip hop culture, not other black folks. These people came in, they took your culture, and they saw it as a way to make money. They didn't care about what was going on. They didn't care about how it started. They didn't care nothing about it. They just looked at it as a way for a money opportunity, money making opportunity. And guess what? They was able to build generational wealth off of your creation. And that wealth ain't coming back to your black community at all. And what y'all don't realize, you going into a ditch. You finna find yourself in a fucked up ass situation for real if you keep it up. Cause y'all niggas out here set tripping. Y'all gonna fuck around and put yourself in a deep ass hole than what y'all already in. Cause you're sitting up there, you listen to a damn clown who don't have your best interests at heart. This man don't care. Tyreek ain't no activist. Tyreek was a former pimp. And he took the pimp game and created an organization because he saw it as a way to bring about monetary values, not to help build up the community. I mean, any organization is going to be about capitalism, but in his case, it's more so about capitalism than to help build up a culture. But it said that a lot of y'all some adults. I feel for the children, and I hope the children will be better off than how we are, because the adults pretty much is done. The adults are pretty much done. I mean, what the hell you gonna damn do about a grown person who too damn lazy to do their own research. Because what it is, you guys looking to jump on bandwagons. Y'all looking for sensationalism, romanticism. You want to be on top of the world of every single thing. You're not on top of the world on everything. You know what I'm saying? Everything wasn't invented by black people. Everything wasn't controlled by black people. Okay. But because we allow people to romanticize shit and not really give us the accurate history, we fell for the okie dokie. So what the problem is too many identity crises taking place in this country. It's too many damn identity crises happening in our community. It's too many of I want to be Indians, I want to be Hebrews, I want to be this group or that group. It's too many identity crises. And many of us don't know how to accept who we are. So we try to come up with these outlandish claims and ideas about who our ancestors were and the identity and etc. When now today is a little bit more easier because all you can do is take a DNA test to find out, but we don't even want to do that. We don't want to do that. But yeah, y'all gotta stop with this bullshit. Y'all motherfuckers just sound crazy as hell. Talking about black people were the founders of America. No, they weren't. Stop the lies. Stop the bullshitty lies. That's why people like Dan Calloway can get away with saying whatever. Because y'all feed into his lies. That's why Tyreek can get away with saying whatever because y'all feed into his bullshit. As long as they got good charisma and know how to grab people's attention, y'all gonna jump on the bandwagon. Y'all not critiquing. Majority of our people don't like to read, so they're not gonna go and critique. They're not going to go and verify the information. They're gonna get some memes off of internet and then post it up and say, this is who we were, and talk about this the picture that is Native Americans or the picture that's some other race of people. They're gonna claim that this is our ancestors, this is who they were in the beginning. They go take some shit off the internet, off of Google, and post it up and say, this is our people. As if they done did a thorough research. You didn't do the thorough research. Ooh, ooh. Lord have mercy. So at this point, I'm gonna say this: we screwed. We're doomed. It's nothing we can really do to fix it. At this point, the black community that we know of is dead. The black community that we know is dead. It has died. With all these division, all these identity crises, the black community that we know has died. There is no black community to really save. There's really no black community to help. So if we're going to build up a black community, it has to start over from ground zero because there's too many identity crises. There's too many division. And it's going to get worse over time. And those who trying to stop it or trying to prevent it from happening, they're not gaining enough attention. They're not getting the proper respect. They become the minorities. But those who are causing division, they gain the majority. They become well respected in the community. They get the salute. They get placed on the pedestal. But the ones that's trying to bring accurate information, trying to bring the people together, they are looked at as minorities. And that's really sad. And then you want to know why people give up. You want to know why people no longer want to be a part of this anymore because they don't see any hope in it. But I rest my case. I said what I need to say. And it's gonna be a while before I go on anybody else's podcast for real. After this podcast, I'm not looking forward to coming back because it was just too much disrespect going on, and this person was all over the place. After dealing with all that conversation and just going back and forth with this individual, I was done. So it's gonna be a while before I even get on somebody else's podcast. It really is. So I'm at that space where I want to take a break from it. And if I do decide to get on somebody else's channel, it has to be worth the conversation. I have to look at what the topic is. Is it worth the topic to have a discussion about? Because if not, I don't want to waste my time. I'd rather be over here on my channel and deal with the little followings that I have over here before I go on somebody else's channel and I have to deal with the headache and the nonsense and the stupidity. But anyways, you guys have a wonderful evening. Until next time, peace and power elevation. So I'm gonna make sure I come on here and present more information, more scholarship or whatnot. So I'm starting to get back in the habit of doing so. I will keep you all posted. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, share the channel. Until then, peace.